Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 442nd episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, from Ontario, Canada, we have Mr. Adam Froman. Adam is the founder of a cool company. He's got almost 100 employees now. He got the bug for technology in the 90s, honed his skills at Deloitte, launched, and then lost 80% of his staff in 2000 when the dot-com bubble burst. So you're going to hear how he built it, how he lost it, how he built it back, and how he built something that is tried and true, that is proven, that is stable, even in this crazy coronavirus economy. And you need to know how to do that, because when you get knocked down, you have one of two choices: stay down or get back up. In this interview, I think you're going to pick up some ideas that'll help you pick yourself back up if you've been knocked down. And look, face it, other than a handful of I don't know, brilliant people or lucky people, most people have been punched to some degree with this thing. So this will be a good interview. The audio is a little crackly. He had to do this from home. Obviously, he didn't have all the setup, but the information is worth a little iPhone microphone scrape every now and then. As always, if you need some help, if you want to continue the discussion, go to theimplementors.com. That's our free website where you can carry on the conversation, ask any additional questions. I'm happy to help. And if you want to dig even deeper, join us at the 30-Day Sales Growth. 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter promo code April. Get 50% off month to month or even the whole year. All right. We do live interactive calls every Monday. There's over 41 videos you can get on demand, workbooks, templates, PDFs, talk track, scripts, the book, Overcoming Objections, sales, training flashcards. You get it all. 30daysalesgrowth.com, promo code April. Now let's bring on our guest. Adam Froman, my second Canadian today on the Sales Podcast, all the way from Ontario. Welcome to the show, man. How the heck are you?
Well, I'm working out of my home office right now, so it's trying to manage running our company virtually and not kill our family at the same time. And other than that, things thankfully are moving ahead.
Very nice. And you've got not a small team, is that correct?
No, we're verging on about 100 people right now.
Wow.
And we've kind of gone through that scaling process of kind of keeping up with our growth as growth has taken hold of our company.
Right. And just so our listeners can understand the background, I mean, you've been in sales, marketing, entrepreneurship, technology now. I do want to touch on that a little bit and what you're doing for well over 20 years, right?
Yeah. So I got the bug for the digital world back in the early 90s, and then spent some time in the big consulting world with Deloitte. And sort of during that age of convergence where media, telecom, and computing are all converging and they're trying to figure out what to do. And then I decided that I was way too entrepreneurial to stay in the corporate world of Deloitte. And I launched my firm in 98 and really jumped into, take this idea of a customer-centric digital strategy. So as everyone was building websites going crazy in the late 90s, but no one was asking about how people were embedding technology in their life before they developed the strategy. And I took a different approach. So we launched as a consulting firm and rode the wave of the dot-com world until it crashed in 01.
And
but
how
what
did
we did
you,
from there?
Oh, I was going to say, how did you weather that first storm?
Well, when your company drops by 80% in the number of people in about 3 months, it was definitely an eye opener, because it was an age where you could not make money,
right?
And it was just people were just throwing money at anything web related. The way we weathered it is we have a very unique opportunity in Canada. Our government really, really supports innovation and R&D. So what I was able to do early on when we started the consulting firm, we made money right away, and I'd take $1 of profit, I'd match it with $2 or $3 of government funding, and I'd spend it on my R&D. So I was developing some really innovative technologies back in the early 2000s. So when we hit the crash, and I actually had 3 other partners that I bought out at the end of 2002, and I parlayed that into a couple really exciting government-funded R&D projects. One was how is broadband or high-speed technology going to change market research? And think about this is in 2003. And the other one, which is just as exciting, was introducing internet voting in municipal elections. So I was able to parlay, while the corporate market went dead, parlay our firm into developing these two really exciting projects to carry us through.
Right.
And what came out of it was, I became a global expert on internet voting, but there's not a lot of business for that, but a lot of cool profile. What we learned was, digital technologies collected data at every touch point, and to be able to use it for market research became really, really powerful. So that really sort of parlayed us into the data collection game. When I stepped into that game, we actually built our own online research panel, which it was made up of a bunch of Canadians, but we kind of used it to drive our consulting firm to allow us to make, develop strategies faster and get people's input. But after we made it through the financial crisis of 2008, because the market came back, we grew our firm again. The financial crisis was a completely different animal of challenge to manage through. And that's where, probably about 80% of our clients at the time were financial services. And when they just stopped spending on data collection and digital, we had to kind of step back again. And I saw, everyone was starting to become a digital consultant. So while we were early in, what was this asset that I had that would grow? And we had this panel called Asking Canadians. And it had so much potential. A lot of the big online survey companies had left Canada because of the recession. And we stepped in the realm, and in less than 5 years, we became the largest online panel in Canada, which was really pivoting our company from, being a pure consulting firm to a technology-enabled data collection firm. But along that way, because I'm an entrepreneur and I didn't want to really lose my passion for, seeing the shiny object and running after it, we sat back and we basically developed a new innovation agenda that really answered two questions. Could whatever we built scale? And more importantly, how does it make money? So, what we learned from the dot-com world is it was sort of build it and they will come. And that was not such a good plan in the long run. The recession taught us don't consolidate into one group of companies. You really need to have a diverse group of clients to keep you through good and bad times. And then the innovation agenda allowed us to look ahead and saw what was coming. And in 2015, we saw that automation was going to come to market research, and we built a research automation platform that we called Methodify. And what that allowed companies to do was, instead of running a research project that takes 6 weeks and maybe $50,000 to do, we could deliver the same report, not just the data, but the report in 24 to 48 hours for about 6 to 10 grand. And we built this back in 2015, and we started evangelizing it. And then around 2018, we said, this platform is incredible. We're asking Canadians, is this cool Canadian company? Methodify has global potential. So we put our foot on the gas and we said, let's grow globally as a really cool company with Methodify. And then I started investing and acquiring in other companies. So last year we invested in a blockchain company that was using blockchain technology to enhance market research. We invested in a chatbot company that's using chatbot and AI to take online. And we invested in an AI company in the US that's basically building these virtual profiles. So they have a bunch of data. There's a really powerful AI engine on the back. And instead of running a survey to a group of people, you create basically personas of those people where you can ask it and get an answer immediately. So while we built these companies that are making money today, we continue to invest in our innovation and stay ahead of the curve. And that's how we've grown our company to where we are now.
So what did you do differently between the 2000 crash and the 2008 crash?
Well, I've had the privilege of being punted into special loans twice by my banks. First time was in 2001. And
so when you say special loans,
2002, and the second.
What is that in America?
So every bank, when you borrow money from them and you have some debt financing, if they get nervous that you're not going to be able to pay it off, they send you to this special group called special loans. I don't know what they call it in the banks in the US. And that's where they treat you really nice, but their job is to try to collect as much money from you as they can. And they decide whether they bankrupt you or whether they can support you on a short leash to help you pay them back. And you never know whether they're going to help you get out of it or they're going to just tank you. So the first time I did it was in 2001. We were making so much money. I didn't really understand how to manage debt and if you got in trouble. And when the world stopped from the dot-com crash and then followed by 9/11, we got a rude awakening. I built a cash flow model then that actually I used to manage through our the experience of having to pay back the bank. And that's when we paid off the bank. We were stable. And then my partner said, we had enough. We want to get out. And I bought them out. When we saw 2008 coming, well, we didn't see 2008 coming. May of 2008 still is burned in my memory. But when that happened, we actually kicked into I pulled out my cash flow model. I updated it for how we were running the business today. And that's what got us through the 2009, 2010 period. Because in 2009, we had 30 days left. In March of 2009, we had 30 days left to payroll with about 25 people. And we had to really kind of sit back and say, do we want to shut this thing down or do we want to keep this going? And my partner and I both mortgaged our homes, put about $1 million back in the company to carry payroll for a few months. And we made it through. And it was only because of our cash flow model. And it's my lifeblood. So I even use it now as we've grown, because when we put our foot on the gas to really scale and grow, looking ahead 6, 8, 12 months ahead and making sure you have cash flow is really important. And I guess that's because we're a self-finance. The finance guys call us bootstrap, but we built our business with our own financing, with bank debt, with all these wonderful government grants that we've been able to get in Canada for innovation. And we haven't had to take on any external financing outside of our own investment. So it's having a really strong cash flow model has been so important.
Yeah. What do you say to those that don't, right? We're going through a crazy time right now. Nobody predicted. Nobody knows when a global pandemic is coming. What do you say to those that are worried? I mean, how do you just cut your losses fast and hold on with your minimum team? What do you say to them?
Well, I think, when we decided to go global, the first thing I did was we became ISO certified because we're dealing, and ISO is the International Standards Organization. We became certified around hosting and controlling data because we do data collection. And as part of that certification, we had to develop a business continuity plan. You had to prepare, for the event that you have to leave your office, whether it's a fire or anything like that. So when this hit, it came on so fast. It was literally a week ago Sunday that we were going out to pick up our daughter from college because they were shutting down her residence, and we were packing her up and bringing her back because of the COVID-19 crisis. And I got wind from a colleague of mine that our prime minister was going to make a major announcement about closing the airports on Monday, and I knew that would create tons of panic. So we were so prepared. I was able to get on the phone, organize my executive team, call a manager's meeting at 8:00 as I'm driving back to Toronto. And we were able to kick right into a work from home strategy. So what this is doing, we will get past this period, this crisis. But what this should be, first of all, is a massive wake up call to any company that if you're not prepared for business continuity in an event like a pandemic, you better develop a plan. The other side is a little more problematic. So if you're in a business that relies, if you're customer facing and you went from doing great revenues and overnight you go to zero revenues, there is zero chance that you are going to, unless you have a lot of money built up and you're not well that leverage and you have cash to carry you through, you better go into crisis mode of laying off. And this is, governments around the world are trying to support companies, because if every company goes down because the economy stops, the banks are going to be, thrown overboard. Everything is going to go to hell. So I think what any company, you better be advocating and talking to your politicians about what support to help you navigate through this in the event. And every politician is trying to deal with, how do I help companies keep their people around? So, you need to be up on that. If you have a company like mine where, our company was built on helping organizations use digital technology to make better decisions. So whether it's, you're collecting data for a survey or you're conducting interviews through the internet, what's happened in my industry is that anyone with a physical focus group facility got shut down for a while. So, but our company is like, well, our panels are people in their home who can fill out a survey, or we have technologies that you can virtually have a moderated conversation with somebody. We're set up for this. So what we've had to do for now is I pulled out my cash flow once again. I'm projecting worst case scenarios, particularly the worst case scenarios is, usually we get paid in 60 to 90 days by our clients. It may be 6 months before our clients start paying us. And then I'm calling my banker now. I'm proactively speaking to my banker saying, are you going to help us get through this? And our banks in Canada are saying, we want to stand by you. So if you have a good bank relationship, you need to develop a cash flow. You need to sit down with them, and you need to prepare now for them to help you overcome any of the hurdles you're going to face.
Hopefully this thing blows over quickly and then people get a wake-up call and start preparing. We shall see. When you talk about data collection, I mean, what's really going on there? And should we be more cautious online because of people like you or some bad guys?
Yes. Okay. So yes, you should be super cautious. I think what companies, we saw what happened with Facebook and the company called Cambridge Analytica at the previous election, where they, there was a church and state between marketers and researchers. But what happened was all these big companies, all these big tech companies also understand, like I said earlier, the difference with digital technology is that every touch point collects data. So companies like Facebook do, they have profiles on everybody in their community. They could see exactly what they're doing. They could see their behaviors. They could see their profiles. They can serve up content any way they want to influence their behavior. Those are the guys that all this stuff that people have to watch out about. Groups like ours, we invite people to participate in sharing research. We invite them to participate in surveys. We get people to download apps to track everything they do and share that information with us. But what we do about it is we're very upfront what we're doing it with. We have mechanisms that build the trust with the people that are doing it with us. We separate any personal information. So when we deliver data, there's never personal information associated with the data that we deliver. And we err to the side of, being openly transparent about how we're collecting data and what we're doing, because it is a scary time right now. But companies need information about, like, if we stopped everyone from sharing any data or participating in anything, companies would do a really, really poor job of developing products for their customers. So research is needed. And so, differentiating between the good guys like us and the bad guys like, okay, let's say Facebook, in terms of how data is collected, is important. And I think consumers or people in business need to know how they differentiate that.
How can the little guys get access to better information? I mean, I'm working with a company right now, in a niche space. Well, it's really not niche. There's a lot of people that do it, but who they want out of these industries is tough. And and it seems like it's very expensive to get even, and I'm even getting more rudimentary, just like good contact info on a targeted list of prospects to go after. I mean, how can the little guy play in that space?
Well, that's really interesting because I play two sides of the coin. So one side is, the little tools like Methodify are changing the way small companies can do research. So whereas, what it is if somebody wants to run a survey with an established researcher, they have to hire those researchers and they want information on the consumer groups and find out where they are and find information. There's platforms like Methodify now that could do it at a fraction of the cost. So it's providing opportunities for organizations that haven't spent money on research ever before to actually spend money on research. On the other hand, on my experience,
when you say
go ahead.
Yeah, when you say research, what do you mean? Because I can imagine these guys pushing back. This is a family-owned business,
Yep.
And they're going to say, "We don't need research. We know who we sell to. We've been selling to them for 30 years. We just need more accurate info so we can pick up the phone and call somebody."
Right. So there's two sides of it. So let me take in terms of for someone like yourself with your clients. If you have an accurate profile of who their customers are, so they go, "We know who your customers are." Now describe the customers so that you can actually look at another list or available data. If they're advertising on Facebook or Google or anywhere, these lesser expensive channels to advertise and reach their consumers, what's really important to know, and if you're going to actually spend money, is who that consumer is. So if you can do actually research on your consumer, like if they have a customer list now and they're running research against them to actually profile what are the behaviors, where do those consumers go, how do they consume content, then now they're going to get a better return on investment. And when they go advertise, and this is going back to my digital side and how we're using it in our own growth, is many of the media sites now have what's called programmatic advertising. So the more data you have about the behaviors and the attitudes and the interests of your customers, they can actually target your customers with the ads so that your click-through rates go through much higher and you get more customers. What we've done is we're a B2B business. So what we've been doing is we've relied on going to conferences across North America. We set up a booth, we gather thousands of names, and then we put it into our systems. And then what we're doing is we're using LinkedIn and even Facebook and our own blog to write relevant content to those people to keep them engaged with our brands. So, it's hard to just buy lists now that are any good, but the cost of advertising with these large platform advertisers has come down so significantly. You can really do some effective advertising, but the only way to do it effectively is to have a really strong profile of who your ideal customer is. And that's why you're doing market research. It's that you can actually say, "I know my customer," and then say, "Okay, well now market to them." "Well, I don't know what they do." Well, you need to do a little bit of research to actually understand who they do. And that's all, the cost of that has really dropped significantly.
Interesting. Do you see that working? Because these guys, it's a B2B play, right? They're calling on the purchasing person, usually, a high up individual at a decent sized company.
Yep.
Are those people, are they going to respond to a LinkedIn ad or something?
Yeah, they do. If it's relevant content. I do a lot of publishing on LinkedIn. We share a lot of, how are they differentiating? The two things, if you're a smaller company, you really have to ask yourself, right, is what's your purpose? Like, when you walk into a client, you want to sell them something, but your purpose is really driven, helps drive that passion to step up and dog it out and sell. And get knocked down and keep going and networking and showing up at things. The other one is having that passion. And our passion is innovation. So we develop stories about how data collection is going to evolve, what a researcher will look like in the age of all these digital technologies. And when we publish content, we take that forward-thinking stuff. We're doing a lot of our own little R&D projects. We invest probably 15% of our revenues back into R&D, with no revenue coming to it, but all about either sharing our knowledge with our customers or developing a presentation to go to a conference with. If you aren't finding a way to differentiate yourself based on your passion and your purpose, you're going to have trouble. You're going to be just sort of, pounding the pavement with everybody else. But what all the digital, like something like LinkedIn, you can become a thought leader. And that's where, LinkedIn's an incredible medium, because if you want to develop some really relevant content that you think will engage a purchaser of those types of organizations, well, then you can develop the content and then target it directly based on the profiles of the people on LinkedIn. You can actually target an advertising campaign, which will be really effective. So if they don't have something unique to say, and you don't, I'm sure you get it yourself. I get called. I don't even answer my office line anymore, because all it is salespeople either calling me, or I'm getting constantly these terrible emails that is somebody, and then they hit read, like they keep on trying to reconnect with me.
Yep.
And I'm not answering any of those, because they haven't created a purpose of why I would want to talk. They don't understand what my purpose is of how they can help me solve my problems. So your client, they got to feel like, what is the content that's going to capture the attention of those potential customers? And start off with a LinkedIn model of advertising. You can, the cool thing with something like LinkedIn is you can track everything too. And it's not a lot of money. So that's how I look at it. And if they're not doing that, they're missing an opportunity.
So, all right. So let me ask you something. I'm going to pick a generic thing, because what they do is a little bit generic, but it's needed, right? And so something everyone would understand, right? Like the space shuttle, was it the Challenger? It was a Challenger from the O-ring.
Oh yeah.
They determined this little gasket, the weather got too cold, that thing shrunk, became brittle, created a leak, and everybody dies. So that's kind of what this company would be, right? They're 0.1% of what a company does, but they're needed, and a lot of businesses really might fall into that, because everything's a commodity to a degree, and everything is unique to a degree, right? They always say you're unique and special, just like everybody else. So how do they find that? Because I know, like I literally just, I help them with this breakthrough right now. And of course they're pushing back, because they think they know, they want to self-diagnose. Oh no, doctor, I need a quadruple bypass and you need to do surgery right now. Like, dude, you got indigestion, it's like, what? Or vice versa, right? Nah, I think I just ate something. No, dude, you're going to be dead in 30 minutes if you go home. We're opening you up right now. Oh, I didn't think it was so severe. So they're trying to self-diagnose, and I finally got through to them. But if somebody's like, oh, we're just bumping along, we're this family-owned business, we want to grow, we're not sure how, how do they use this data research, this data collection, to stand out in a commoditized world?
Well, I think, the first thing is you have to, like, do they really want to grow? Like, if you're having that much trouble convincing them, okay. So so the reality is that, look, it's going to be bumpy if you want to grow. The next thing is, how much do they really know about their customers? So you know yourself, a lot of sales is relationships, right? You're building relationships with people. And they come back and use you. Not necessarily everyone wants that holy grail where the product becomes more important than the salesperson. But I'd say greater than 50% of the time is the relationship is with the salesperson. They build the relationships. They like them. So obviously they've built relationships, but how much do they really know about how their customers make decisions of why they would choose their product over somebody else? How much do they know about the competition and the products that their competition are offering? How much do they know about what their competition is doing in terms of marketing and connecting with their customers? Once they figure that out, then it becomes, hey, how do I differentiate myself in this? So that's when it's after that. That's why they have to collect data about their customers, and they have to understand the behaviors and their decision-making process, so that they can look at their competitors and say, how's their competitor? That's part of their research, is just going and talking to their customers. They don't even have to spend a lot of money on an external research group if they know how to ask the questions. And when they call on their clients, they say, hey, can you answer a couple of questions about it for us? But what you want to do is, the reason you'd go and do a research study with a company, you'd hire a research firm, you collect data and use a platform like mine, is because you want to get enough critical mass so that you can take that data and assess, what percentage of the market do I have? Am I positioning my product to even the right person? Do I have to, is there another person who is actually going to be the person who wants to use it? But then I got to get procurement and purchasing on board, but it's not directly to them. I need to do a two-pronged approach, sales approach. It's only when you start gaining insight and collecting data about that whole customer journey of, your client and how they make the decisions. And that is research. That's exactly what we do. We power those people who want to be able to gain those insights so that they can do two things. They'll develop the proper language of what they have, how they should talk to, and they develop the marketing in terms of if they want to share content. If you know that, what are those companies that buy your products struggling with today? Well, if you write an article and post it on LinkedIn about how, companies are, solving that problem, and you post it there and you make sure a bunch of purchasers see it, then all of a sudden they're going to click through to that article and your name, and you're going to, then that's when you start trying to connect with them, but you pull them in. And the other thing is, what people don't even realize is there's other companies that are data companies now that once you have a profile, you can overlay it onto databases and really estimate, do they have they think they got 20% of the market, but really they only have 1%. If they don't know that stuff, that's what they should be investing with someone like yourself to help them build that knowledge so that they can really, really understand who their customers are, what are their pain points and what they're purchasing, and how many are there out there. That's when you start going after and seeing, are there lists of these companies, these individuals? Are there proper conferences where I should be advertising and asking to speak at? And how do I build a lead generation engine? So we built a lead generation engine for us that we've generated over 10,000 names in the past year. And these are all leads that we can go back, and you don't just pound them with sales, but we actually invite them to watch content, see content that we're sharing. We know when they're clicking through on stuff. Our sales guys know if somebody has actually read one of our articles. So when they follow up with them, they don't go in creepy and go, we saw you read our article, but they know that they're interested. So the likelihood of somebody actually taking their call goes up, multiple percent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's the average small, medium business, they're not going to do this very easily on their own, if at all. It's the old adage, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. It's too hard. But conversely, I could never do what they do, right? They've got specialty. But everybody thinks... go ahead.
But data is the new oil. And there's so much data out there that companies, if they're not capturing the data to help them drive their businesses forward, they may still have a nice little business, but they're missing an opportunity to scale it. my company is in the data business, and I use data to scale my business. So, if you're not capturing this incredible opportunity that digital platforms provide companies now, not only to capture the data, but also to help them cost effectively reach their customers. And all you have to look at is the coronavirus pandemic, is that I guarantee every single one of their clients that they still want to talk to is sitting home on their computer trying to work. And they're sitting there with their family. Their kids are home from school because the school's been closed. They've been holed up they've marked out one part of their room so their spouse or partner says, don't come to this part if you're on the phone, because my wife always kicks me back into my office. And they're trying to be productive for the company. They're worried that they're going to get laid off, and they are digitally connected. And if you are overlooking that, then you can't help them. If your client just doesn't care, then guess what? There's going to be another company that says, I care. And they're going to, they might be half their size. They might have just started last week. They will vault by them. But if you have experience, I love companies with depth of experience. And like you said, they're self-diagnosing, but I can sit in a room with anybody, and if they can prove to me that they know more about the digital space than I do, then I'm happy to learn from them. But most often than not, if you're producing a product, you're not an expert in everything. And really, harnessing the power of digital, how to properly collect data in an age where more and more people are going to become isolated. Clients are not doing face-to-face meetings because they're going to be worried about social distancing. They have no choice to actually step into this realm, but it's cost effective now. 25 years ago, it would have been a fortune. Now it's so cost effective. And it's, they're missing a great opportunity. So if they're, it's too bad if they don't want to see it. I'd say, if they can't see that opportunity and want you to guide them through that journey, then, then so be it.
Yeah. So when you say, this data collection, right? If a prospect is using something like a HubSpot,
yep,
and they've got their web form, they've got a custom landing page, it's cookied, it's pixeled, so they can track. It's progressive profiling. I can see you've come back a couple of times, picked up a couple of reports. I've asked a few more questions. I know your revenue size, number of customers. I mean, is that enough, or is that just the beginning?
It's just the beginning.
Okay.
Because then you have to, so now you got to get into their head, because if you just try to call them and sell them, now you're doing the same thing as before. How do you engage and inform them? Because everybody is looking for guidance and direction. So if you can guide, this is where the experience of somebody being able to draw the knowledge out of the founders of the company of, their purpose, their passion, understanding why, what problems is their product solving. And then someone can translate that into content that is relevant. So maybe a use case by a client, maybe it's a forward-thinking thought, a thought piece. Maybe it's a white paper about, maybe it's helping them, especially like right now, helping that company look at how their industry is going to be transformed in the future, and then how does this product help them get there? It just begins, and it's an expertise that, it's a communication expertise with a really strong lead generation. So, in the old days where, the advertising agencies got all the attention, right? Like, if you came up with big creative ideas, and the below the line stuff, the direct marketers were always the secondary expertise. The direct marketers rule now. Direct marketers are the people that will help or utilize this new medium, the digital medium, to help them get customers and help overcome that gap between the company's knowledge and what they're doing. So it's a wonderful time now. But people like your client needs to realize that's not their expertise, and they need help.
Yeah.
And if they don't trust your judgment in guiding them through, like everything that you told me, I understand. But, if they probably don't necessarily even understand if you talk about HubSpot and web forms and that. So really, you need to show them, but you have to tell them this is just the beginning. And this is the beginning of a journey that will transform how they will have dialogue with their prospects and potential customers. And I don't know, I've been doing this, my company's 22 years old. I've been in it 10 years before that. This is my passion. My passion is, customer-centric digital experiences. And I've just applied it to saying, you know what, there's lots of consultants who do digital customer experiences. And I picked saying, well, those who want to, as companies transform, they need data to help them make decisions. And digital technologies that I'm always been passionate about will allow them to collect data faster, better, cheaper than before to help them make the decisions they have to in today's digital economy. And, so I don't know, I hope that your client is open-minded enough to trust you to say, hey, let me show you what you can do with this, but it's just the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. So you mentioned, I'm linking to it here, methodify.it, right?
Yep, or methodify it.
Methodify it. All right. I like it. Is that where we should send people? Because I know that's a product or an offering of your parent company, right?
You're right. So delvinia.com is the parent company.
Okay.
Methodify it. They can go visit Methodify. That's actually, that's probably a very relevant place to start. And then they can see, the other stuff. But really what Methodify it is, there's so much advertising out there that isn't testing it, so why not Methodify it? Because it's very fast. Methodify gets answers in less than 24 hours. So it's very powerful. And what it's doing is, as people are developing their products, as they're marketing to their customers, it's bringing the customer into the boardroom or the planning room with them. So, where it used to be that those that do spend money on research would take 4 to 6 weeks to do research, people don't have that sort of time anymore. But if you can come up and you're working on a marketing campaign or you're developing a new product feature and you want to get your customers' feedback, if you could get it in 24 to 48 hours, that's valuable. It changes the way you think about developing products by including the consumer in every step of the way. And what Methodify does is provides you that vehicle to be able to do it fast, inexpensive, and reach your customers and bring them in the boardroom.
Yeah. Very cool. But then if they came to my boardroom now, man, they would see I'm not wearing pants. So I don't know if I want that to happen.
Yeah, but you can say that, just have an avatar of yourself, of anyone you want to be. So that's the beauty of digital.
Very nice. All right, man. Adam Froman, all the way from Ontario. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
It's going to be bumpy if you want to grow. How about them apples, huh? Sales relationships. How much do you really know about your customers? I'm working with a client right now, and that's what I'm getting into their heads. Why are you calling these people? What are you saying? I got to re-listen to this episode. I don't re-listen to many of my episodes, but because of the audio, the bumpiness and him having to do this from home instead of his home office, man, I picked up so many more things. That's why I recommend listen at double speed, listen twice. You'll get more out of it. It's crazy. I mean, you can hear multiple things, okay? Or you can get the nuances even at double speed. But it really hit home, those lines towards the end. It's going to get bumpy if you want to grow. We're in bumpy times right now. Using LinkedIn more. Sales is relationships. How much do you really know about your customers? Our job is to solve problems. And to really be good, you're solving the problems of your customer's customer. You help them look good in the eyes of their customers, and they'll stay with you forever. All right? It's not always easy to do, and we're all too close to our own stuff. I don't have some unique ability the only person in the world that can do what I do. I hire people and go through programs myself to tighten up my own offerings, how to say it concisely, how to look at things with fresh eyes. So I'm not just up here saying, hey, do what I say. I'm saying do what I do. Okay, get that outside help so you can tighten things up. And you need to be super efficient right now more than ever. When I moved to Southern California at the end of 2004, I was looking around. I was like, man, this is some stupid money floating around, and it's going to come to an end. There's going to be a hard rain coming, and people wouldn't believe me because they were in the mix. When you move into the chaos from outside of it, it's so obvious that the emperor has no clothes. And we had a great run up, 12 years, 11 and a half years, uninterrupted growth since, the bottom of 2008, early 2009. Way longer than, at least pushing the far edges of the typical length of recovery. And the Fed starts playing with money, starts playing with interest rates, and the government passing crazy laws. It just extended it. And I guess it's good in a lot of ways because, we had some cushion to absorb some of this chaos that just came our way with COVID-19. But I don't know how long, the cushion ain't that big. So we got some tough times here coming up. But hey, if you want to grow, it's going to be bumpy. Okay? You can bemoan the fact that it's tough, or you can just dust yourself off and realize this is the fight that we're in and commit to engaging in the fight. Okay? If I can help you with that, let me know. I got some free resources. Obviously, this podcast, theimplementors.com. It's a free group. 30daysalesgrowth.com. Promo code April. Half off if you want more engaging, more detailed assistance. But keep working on yourself. Okay? Grow your team, grow yourself, grow your offers, tighten up your offers, and sell yourself out of this dilemma. It's the only way. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.